Welcome everyone to our first session of Mujeres, Hispanas y Tipografía, part 2. I am Lavinia Lascaris, the exhibition and graphic designer at Hoffmitz Milken Center for Typography. And here with me is Jimena Amaya.
Hi everyone, I'm Jimena Amaya, graphic designer at the HMCT. We're very excited to share this series that Lavinia, Layshi, and myself curated together. The lineup covers type design, editorial design, breaking ground with technology, and how graphic design and typography reflect on the state of our society.
So let us now introduce our host, Layshi Curbelo. Layshi is a designer that specializes in user experience and accessibility. She is a communication educator for Talk Their Language and provides communication training to companies and designers in both corporate and private levels. She is a design advocate and CEO of Command Z, an international podcast about design, tech, and communication, with episodes in Spanish and English. We are very excited about the series and so grateful to everyone who agreed to be part of it. Layshi, will pass it on to you now to introduce our guests and see you at the end for the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Jimena and Lavinia, for this amazing presentation. That biography was too much. No, just kidding. Buenos dias and buenas tardes, depending on your location. I'm from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, when every moment is a good idea to go to the beach. Just saying. My name is Layshi Curbelo. My pronouns are she, her. And as my colleagues Lavinia and Jimena mentioned, I'm a UX designer and a fan in heart of typography. Sometimes designers think like, what are you doing with typography? And sometimes I do this really bad work with that, but I am really a fan of art. This past March, I had the honor to have some interviews with the first group of amazing designers of Mujeres, Hispanas, and Tipografía for my podcast, Come and See. And that's one of the biggest things that I've been doing, because showcase more work from women that are in the field for me is a really passion that I have. But you can find the playlist through Spotify as a series that we create for Women's Month. So today we are in the second part, and as I know, will now be the last one. Just saying. Today I have the honor of presenting amazing designers who will be sharing their work and knowledge with us. Breaking the ice with us, Cecilia del Castillo is a type designer and calligrapher based in Barcelona. Her work is deeply influenced by her Mexican heritage and her passion for calligraphy. She was honored as one of the TDC Ascenders 2023 by the Type Directors Club and currently studying in the Type Media program at the Royal Academy of Art and Hague. Welcome, Cecilia del Castillo.
Hola. Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy, really excited to be here, really grateful. I'm going to share my screen now, if it's okay, Layshi. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful introduction, Layshi, for these kind words. I'm really, really grateful. So yeah, hi. First of all, thank you, Lavinia, Jimena, for having me here. It means a lot to me to be part of these lectures, especially talking about Hispanic women in type design. I'm also very happy to share this space with Fer. Fun fact, we met in person just a few months ago, but I already knew some of her work through other presentations. And in the first moment I saw some hints of her mood and style, I already knew that we could be friends. So I'm really, 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 really happy to share this space with her as well. So when I was thinking how to address this talk, first of all, I panic for sure, because maybe one of the most difficult things to do is to talk about ourselves. Then somehow, very soon, I got an answer in my head, but this is not because I have many answers and certainties to give you. In fact, I will most likely give you only more doubts or uncertainty. But what I have had lately are many experiences and reflections that might give you some answers or maybe just some more doubts. So I'm currently studying the Thai media program, as Layshi said, in the Netherlands. And for the very first day at school, I had to prepare a presentation of 10 to 15 slides to explain my teachers and my classmates who I am. So for the people that maybe don't know what is Type Media, it is an intensive one-year program, one-year type design program master in The Hague. To be able to be here, it requires not only preparing an application, but also preparing yourself to be ready to make kind of a pause in your life to dedicate your time and effort to this. That means obviously leaving your country, your job, and kind of the previous rhythm of life you had. And of course, one of the toughest part is to saving enough money to do this. So it is not a simple or easy decision. But also for ones who are really interested in type design, it is the place where you want to be. So in this moment, for me, it feels actually like a leap of faith being here. And I really recognize the enormous privilege of having the opportunity to be studying there. I've only been here for 1 month, and I've already learned a lot. Perhaps the first lesson was this, the exercise of having to explain yourself in 20 slides, 15 or whatever. Because first of all, because of the vulnerability that implies to put yourself in front of people, like exactly right now that I'm suffering, because actually I can't see anyone or listen to anything. So I feel like I'm talking just to myself, but hopefully everything is good. And if not, let me know, okay? Yeah, so it's really hard actually to be in front of everyone, you know, and to explain everyone like who you are, and kind of trying to make them not regret of choosing you to be there. So on the other hand, it is a personal exercise of self-recognition to do a presentation of yourself. Sometimes we forget how important it is to recognize our path as unique, I think. So that stage in that picture looks small, but it was really big for me. And I remember I felt like this really small sticker just in front of everyone trying to explain someone. So I was really nervous because 1 month seems like a short time. But believe me, this month in my phone, it looks like 10,000 of pictures and more than 10 gigas of storage in my computer of all the information that I've got just in these weeks. And I can't even start telling you how this information and emotions are stored in my head right now. So yeah, as you might have noticed, from my accent, I'm Mexican. I grew up in Mexico City. But years ago, I decided to move to Barcelona to continue with my studies. And what I thought it was going to be just 1 year ended up being 9 years now living here, because I'm here right now. But I didn't came to Barcelona with the idea of becoming a type designer. Since I remember, since I was very little, I wanted to be a painter. So this is one of my first magnificent pieces of art for my mother. It says, you bright my life or something like that. I was also this unbearable girl with pretty notebooks, nice handwriting, thousands of colors. Yeah, that was me at the time. While growing up, I used to draw a lot. First animals, pictures, I copy from other artists. I explored with different techniques a lot because I enjoyed working with my hands all the time. Until I found a technique that makes me feel comfortable, and I started drawing these kind of illustrations. And I'm showing you this not just to bore you with the story of my childhood and how I wanted to be a painter. If I'm honest, I'm saying this just to make a point, and that point is that I actually never wanted to do anything related to computers. At that moment, when I was younger, technology never caught my attention. I never had Messenger, ICQ, blah, chats, blogs from those years, anything. There was never nothing there was nothing that attracted me to be sitting in front of a screen. I remember the first time I saw this GIF, I felt deeply related to this man. I thought, oh my God, this man is my soulmate. We are not the same age, but my soul and his are absolutely from the same generation. I've always felt, and I will always feel more comfortable or confident with a brush and paper on my hands than with a trackpad or a computer. This is, for example, the kind of mess that I can do in my desk in 5 minutes. I enjoy working with my hands a lot, and sometimes my process can be really, really chaotic. Maybe I'm crazy, but I kind of always find a lot of beauty in chaos and in complex compositions. And over time, I've learned to understand that this is because where I come from, there is nothing really simple or minimalist. Mexico is all about complexity. It's about colors, patterns, textures, contrasts, smells, and of course, great food. So it is hard for me to simplify things knowing that I come from this vast universe. You know that phrase that they always tell you while studying graphic design that less is more? I think I've never really agreed with that. I've always thought that more is just more. And sometimes we just need more, and it's fine, and it's beautiful. And actually, I've recently heard this from other designers, and I'm really glad I'm not alone in this battle, because I think this was a thought that I had since a long time ago. When I heard this from other really good but designers from other parts of the world, I felt really good because I agree completely. So in Mexico, you can find inspiration in art, in crafts, in language, in streets, and in the letters on the streets. This is, for example, some of the inspiration that I use for a typeface inspired in signs of black letter, Mexican black letter in Mexico City. And all these inspiration are elements that I now recognize are always used to appear in my work since my early years as a graphic designer. And when I was trying to become an illustrator, at first in a very, very naive way, many times I wonder if it was correct or not to do this, if it was repetitive to always relate everything to Mexico. All my calligraphy pieces were related to Mexico. I wrote and illustrate about Mexican legends. I wrote poems and songs, always in Spanish. And of course, those songs were always related to Mexico. And I think I always struggled with that thought because there was another dilemma in my head. There is this thought that a Mexican behaves in a certain way when he's in Mexico and in another way when he's outside. While we are in Mexico, we complain about everything, but when we travel or we live somewhere else, we praise it with pride. This is a topic that I reflect on a lot because I've met Mexicans here in Barcelona and in other parts of the world that speak really bad things sometimes about Mexico, and then few hours later, I can see them singing Cielito Lindo in a bar or a restaurant in Barcelona, and this annoys me really, really much. In my experience, it is a fact that I've learned to value even more my roots since I left Mexico. But I think the important thing is also what you do with this when you return to your origin or where you are. How coherent are you respecting your heritage wherever you go? I now see and accept my inspiration, my work, and my references as part of me and who I am. My work speaks about me, about my heritage. I am the result of where I come from, and I actually feel very, very proud of it. Now my question is, how can I do it better? How can I actually honor the craftsmanship, the history of my country, without culturally appropriating or disrespecting it? How can I give voice to my roots with pride and respect through my work? So this is one of the projects that I think that reflects this better, this project inspired in Mexican Black letter. But this is a path that I continue to travel and explore, and I'm really just continue learning. So I collect crafts from Mexico, and I'm especially obsessed with miniatures. I'm also obsessed with collecting plants, stones, and random stuff. Sometimes not with any reason, I just create a bond when I see them and I give them meaning and I just want to keep them. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, I think. I collect letters, especially the small ones for sure, especially from the past and from everywhere I go. I am obsessed with old handwritten letters because I feel the story behind them. I feel the meaning, and when I see them, I get obsessed by trying to create the story of the person who wrote this, or even by thinking who touched this before. How many hands have touched this object before reaching mine? I like to imagine their lives, their passions, and create a whole movie in my head. This is my studio in Barcelona, where I collect things that I love and that inspire me. It looks like an altar now. I don't have any more space. So this little obsession with letters that now you know I have began through calligraphy. It all started when I met my calligraphy teacher, Keith Adams. I remember the first time he opened his folder to show us his work. I was amazed and obsessed of how he masters his craft. But it was when I also got to understand the origins of calligraphy, its forms, its evolution, its relationship with each historical moment, when all made sense. I felt a circle was completed in my head. Those shapes were not just, those letters were not just shape, there were also a lot of meaning. So I started doing my own calligraphy pieces and practicing even more every week. Every workshop that I could do, I would attend and I would spend all my money on that. So this is the place where I go every year to practice calligraphy. So it's been through calligraphy that I ended up not also writing letters, but drawing them and experimenting more. Calligraphy led me to lettering, and lettering to type design. I eventually had the need to see those letters becoming a whole alphabet, and this is how I started drawing my first typeface. And then the second one, inspired in Mexico as well, same as the first one. And then in one class in Tipografía, I heard a teacher saying this sentence that amazed me a lot. He said, "The idea that a set of signs can build a world is magical." I think I'm really obsessed with letters because I love the idea of them being a universe that contains infinite universe inside. Letters are raw material to be molded each time. Letters are us with our context and our ideas. It is you who decide which universe to create each time. That idea for me is absolutely fascinating, and it simply blows my mind. Everything that I can create, and every time I think about this, I think it's just an source of inspiration that never ends. The issue is that we have a sketch that we like, And then we go to digital, and suddenly it is no more your beautiful drawing, it is a mess, and you don't know what to do. Or at least I didn't know what to do. Sometimes I don't. We see type design as something so technical and complex that we are afraid to try again. But one thing that I've learned through my weeks in type media is this simple phrase. The best thing a drawing can be is to be wrong. Mistakes are information. It sounds so simple, and I really don't know why it is so difficult sometimes to understand and just move on and do something else. The best thing that could happen is just to screw up and start all over again, and maybe this time start even further from our comfort zone. For me, this lesson applies to letters, but also to life. And in order to be studying now in the Netherlands, I had to move and to step further from my comfort zone. And this is how I moved once again, but now from Barcelona to Amsterdam, exactly 1 year ago. I applied to a scholarship, and with all the fear that I had, I left again, and I went to Amsterdam to develop a project with the funding I got. But life rewarded my bravery, because I could not have met a better person to collaborate, not only because of her talent, but because of her enormous generosity. I met Sabina in Amsterdam, and since few months ago, we had been working together in a type design project. It has been an incredible experience and a huge learning, joining forces. There is something very special and powerful about working and joining forces with another woman to create something. This project and this experience is deeply close to my heart, not only because all what I learned from type, but what I learned from myself, because it gave me the strength to apply to type media. So it is very, very special for me. These are some of the images, the sketches, my calligraphy, and it is a work in progress. And it's been 50-50 work. I hope I can share more of this soon. Yeah, a few images more. So it's these kind of impulses of sudden bravery and also panic at the same time that keep me always learning. Letters for me are more than symbols. I live my relationship with them in a very, very intense way. I see myself in my letters, and I see my personal life experience and journey through my struggle of learning from them. Through them, I have been able to connect with wonderful people in Paris, in Mexico. I have been able to travel, to learn. I have been able to be part of a wonderful team, TypeMate, in Mexico. I've been able to fulfill my dream of collaborating in a foundry and to make letters my full-time job. And that has been the result of a long journey that continues. I have absolutely nothing resolved. Today, I only have the certainty that my work speaks a lot about where I come from, where I was born, but also of what I have experienced in the recent years. Who I am today is the result of being born in Mexico, but it is also the result of migration. And migration is a whole topic in itself, about which we could go into great depth, but I won't, because I know we are running out of time. But I just want to say something before finishing. People migrate for different reasons and contexts. Speaking specific about the act of migrating with the aim of studying outside your country, it is a privilege. And many times it is perceived as something simply idyllic and amazing. And in a huge part, it is. I absolutely recognize and value the privilege that I have. But I am also aware of everything it implies. Making a life outside your country and away from your family requires a lot of courage, resilience, and the ability to adapt. But at the same time, in my experience, there is nothing that makes you feel more alive than living in a new place. And I don't say this from the perspective of toxic optimism of, wow, how beautiful it is to be alive. No, but from the perspective that when you are new in a place, there is not a single day when you can say that you are in a comfort zone. Every day, every activity since you set foot outside your house, it is a challenge. It feels like this: housing, papers, transportation, understanding all the first world machines that sell transportation tickets that we don't even have in Mexico, visas, bureaucracy, new language, making friends. Every day you feel more alive than ever because your brain and your body is in survival mode every second. So yes, it is wonderful, but it can also be exhausting. There is always a little of both, but I can assure you that wonderful always wins. And I don't want to sell you this like any Instagram inspirational quote. I just want to share this because if my experience can help anyone who wants to explore this or they think that they could like or want to study abroad, I'm always open to helping, giving advice, and doing whatever you need in order to achieve that dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecilia del Castillo, for that amazing presentation. I know how hard can be, like actually confronting a new country and actually living the experience abroad. And thank you so much for being so brave to sharing your experience with all the attendees today.
Thanks to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So our next amazing designer, I have the opportunity to enjoy her work through interactions. Fer Cozzi is an independent type designer with a diploma from the University of Buenos Aires, where she also teaches. Her work combines randomness and subtle rationality in exploring letterform, has been selected for typography exhibitions, conferences, and events around the world. So let's give it up for Fer Cozzi.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank everyone for inviting me and having me here. I must say I was super happy to be paired with Ceci. And now, after hearing her, I'm more happy because I feel like without exchanging ideas on what we are going to talk about, the two of us have a similar approach. So as she said, it's really difficult when the topic of the lecture is you, because I don't know how to do something and say something that resonates with someone in the audience when the things that I want to say are about me. So I did these kind of presentations that I don't know how it's going to end, but I'm going to try to introduce myself and my work and my ideas through some topics that I want to address. So I'm going to talk about who I am, what I do, how I do it, and why. The first thing, for those who doesn't know who I am, my name is Fer. I'm a really big fan of Britney Spears. I drink wine and eat cheese, and that's all I need for a living. And when people ask what I do, I say I draw letters. I don't feel that comfortable saying that I'm a type designer because not always it's about making typography or type. Maybe it's just some drawings that they are letters. So what I do, I think in my work, I try to do letters that do things. It's funny that you say that my letters vibrate. My first project was Syncopa, and my idea was that I wanted to build a system for 3 of my favorite jazz singers. So the idea was that the letters had to sing in a different way, but in the same tone, but differently. And it was the first moment that I saw that letters are more than letters. Just like Ceci said, they are ideas. You need to do the things that you need to do because the letter shapes are not something that you want to mess with, but you can dress it as you want it. So in the second project that I did is Tomasa, I decided that if I can get some letters to sing, and maybe I can do them dance. So I built a system trying to merge some different approach on how the street art, graffiti, perreo, and everything combined can build a system that it works, and of avoiding like the normal graffiti look like on the typeface. And one thing that I realized building Tomasa and after Syncopa is that it's not avoiding the obvious resolution, it's about to pass that and decide what you want to build with that. So each time that I need to start a new project, I decide what I wanted to do. It's not about building or drawing beautiful letters. It's about what I want to say and how I want to say. The most important thing is that life is too short for boring fonts. So one good thing to have in mind is how the final aspect will be. It will be the texture, the flavor, how it will be the word when it's all combined. For me, drawing letters is not about drawing one letter. It's about building a system that tells a story. Because in some point, I realized that the letters, the fonts, can be a bridge for ideas and cultures to combine in something that transmits something to someone else. This is my work, and this is how I present myself to the world. I'm trying to explore the shapes, but I'm knowing how the shapes are built. It's not that I sit down in my desk and try to do the craziest or weirdest A. I'm trying to resolve the thing that I know that I have to resolve, but being willing to fail in every point. The result, it's about trying to get an idea into the shape of a letter and not the other way around. But if I must confess, when I have to do client work, this is how I address it. It's not just experimenting about the shapes, it's about getting the idea and the concept done. So again, I'm not trying to be weird when I draw. I'm trying to get something right that someone else, when it sees, that you feel that I am saying something. So what I do most of the time, it's suffering. I'm not going to lie to you. All of the time, I think that I don't know what I'm doing, because I feel like the process is the work that I do. It's not the end. It's about how I feel exploring the things that I need to do, how to reinterpret shapes that I know how they are done. It's not about doing something that it looks good on Instagram. It's about pushing the boundaries on my head, on how the letter can tell the story. In some point, I think the fun part of the work is that we don't need to invent anything. We need to reinterpret it. So we need to find a new thing to say. For me, every letter had a story to say, and we have to embrace our uniqueness as persons and as people doing this, and try to build from there. As Ceci said before, we give so much of us and put so much of us in everything that we do. So we need to do it like more obviously. So that being said, and how I do things, I think is not something easy to say, because it's not about how I draw something or how I think about something. It's about my whole history or my whole self put in everything that I do. So this part is really, I think Ceci and I should have one only talk and talk about the same things. Sometimes it's difficult to say I'm from Argentina, I'm so at the south of the world. and I live in Buenos Aires. And one thing for everyone you need to know about Argentina is we live in constant crisis. And we are the land of the mate con facturas, el asado, and of course, the inflation. But that being said, I don't know how to live without economical crisis. I don't know how you manage to do that. Here we live in crisis and we solve it laughing of it. But one thing for me that it's really important, and it is the most important thing for me in Argentina, is we have public, free, and for everyone education. I study in the UBA and University of Buenos Aires in la Facultad de Arquitectura, Diseño y Urbanismo. I study my degree there, and after that I took the diploma in type design. But something that you need to know about study and teaching in the University of Buenos Aires is this is how it looks like, a classroom. We are like 200 people in a room, and it's like 20 teachers. That's me in the arrows, for those 200 people. One thing that this is super important to me is like when you start to study and you're in your context is like you are one in a million. You have to let your work talks for you. You need to let your ego go and try your best. And it's not about standing out. It's about learning from you and learning from your peers. It's not just about your teacher telling you what to do. It's about learning to hear what everyone else thinks about the things that you need to do. It's not just a teacher-student relation. It's about a group of people trying to learn and sharing everything. Even in the master, this is a reality. We have like 20 students, and that's me in 2013, learning how to be a type designer. And again, it's all the work in the world, and everyone says whatever is on your mind. That is not only building your person and how you think about the things that you do. It's about building a community. You never feel alone. You can be surrounded by 200 or 20 people, and you know that anyone there can give you your opinion and listen to you. And it's about sharing and the exchange of ideas that makes me feel like I'm not alone. And that it's the way that I still, until today, I feel like that's the way that I do my work and I teach. It's about talking, it's about listening, and above all, it's about not my ego or my ideas or my final truth. It's important for me to say that, as I said before, education is public, free, and for everyone. And right now is the moment where I need to stand for it. It's the only way for me, was the only way to get education. And I think it's important to defend it. And it's a cause that I'm going to advocate forever. It's not always about scholarships. It's not always about opportunities. It's about giving the space to everyone access education. And that being said, how that translates to my work, I think I can't think without the muchosidad given away. It's everything combined, everything at the same time. For me, you need to be able to mix and match the things that you do, the things that you work on, and the things that you care about. One thing that for me it's really important in my work and everyone else's work is that none of us is one thing on one version. We are like a super cocktail of things that we care about, we like or we don't like, that we want to do, the things we don't want to do, the things that are part of our past or our present, our context, our friends. So it's important for me that all the things that we do reflect something about that. One idea that I'm always a big fan to talk about, it's about wormholes. I don't know how many of you know this theory, but the theory says that something that enters from a wormhole, it goes to the other side, changed to another universe. So if I feel like this applies to my life, everything that I like, everything that I care about, everything that I read, that I listen to, what I eat, what I like in this moment, are part of the vision that I have of the world and the world that I want to build. So it's impossible to separate that from the work that I do. For me, it's really important to put something of me in everything that I do. But most important is the people that I surround. It's not always about how or what you learn. It's about who do you decide to work with? Where do you stand for things? Which voices do you want to amplificate? Which voices are in your head or in your surroundings? Which ones are the persons that you trust? And yeah, they are not trust like a secret, but which ones are the ones that you want to keep close? It's not always about the work. It's not always about the discipline. Most of the people here in these pictures are not type designers or nothing close to type, but they are always pushing me further away. They're always trying me to go and do my best. They are encouraging me to do things that I'm not sure if I'm able to do it. And above all, I learn from them every day. And the last thing is why I do what I do. I'm always joking that I want to be famous and rich. And I'm going to say, once again, I live in Argentina. We are in constant crisis. So yes, I want to be a billionaire. But it's not the reason. I don't think type design is going to make me rich in this moment. But there are some points that I want to do for why I think type design is cool. And something like Ceci said before, it's not about the success or being a billionaire. It's about being constantly failing at things because you are trying. If you don't try, you don't fail. And for me, it's like something, if I can do and I want to do something, it's not because I'm sure that I'm able to do it right. It's because I don't know if I can do it. If I don't know if I can do it, but I do it anyways, and probably I will be surprised by the results. And not only the project itself or drawing one letter or a whole system, my daily life is about dancing with my letters, not knowing how it's going to end the things that I want to do. Because something that I'm really passionate about is when we talk about letters, we always talk about shapes and proportions and being legible and readable and this definition. But for me, letters are things that we can change, are things where we can play with, things that we can do in a different way. Letters are more than just letters. And for that, I think that it's impossible to not do anything new. All the time we can do something new and something impressive and something that we don't know that we could do if we are trying to do something that is not drawing letters. Again, it's not that I'm inventing something. The shapes of the letters are the shapes of the letters that they need to be, but it's about what story do I want to tell, which idea I want to address. It's about looking what to say and not what to draw. And for me, it's really important that in this moment, we need to be able to stand for the things that we need to stand for and the things that represent us. In my case, I'm a proudly feminist, and my way to do it is to find names that resonate with the idea of the fonts that I'm making and try to mirror something that I care about, and maybe someone else is listening to me or seeing my work or reading what I wrote and resonates with the same thing. So these are my types, these are my fonts, these are my girls, and these are the ideas behind it. Some of them sing, some of them dance, some of them are scientists, and all of them are something to know about. Each one of them, for me, it's not only impressive, but always a story to tell. So when you think about me, and this was one of the most difficult lectures that I have to do, that I did, I'm fair, I'm queer, I'm Latina, and I'm a feminist. And if you are thinking this was easy, I was this whole idea of talking about me in this way and being able to and have to do it in English, it was super hard because my whole ideas on what I want to say are come super easy in Spanish. And here I am trying to not get my head like super mess, trying to tell you what I think is important to me. So if I can say something to you, it's like embrace your uniqueness, try to do something to embrace the full spectrum of life, not just drawing letters. It's about type design is not just about drawing letters, and life is too short for boring fonts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fernanda. That was impressive work and impressive presentation. I feel inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I'm super nervous right now.
I really love your work, and especially when you mentioned reggaeton, I feel so related.
I need to go to Puerto Rico now.
You are invited. So thank you so much for your presentation again, and we have a little bit of time for questions. I will start with Ceci because we have a question from Mauricio Villamayor that he posted. So Ceci, it says from Mauricio, Cecilia, it's lovely to see how proud you are on your heritage and also the struggle around appropriation. This is a little bit hard question. I know appropriation and power relationships are still in an area that we are exploring, but are there ways in which you acknowledge the inspiration for your work and maybe give more visibility to your heritage? That's the question from Mauricio Villamayor. Let us know how you think about that.
Yeah, well, I think it is a topic that, as I said, is really hard for me because I think it's been a journey to understand how can I do this in a good way. I think it's also about knowing what you're talking about, not just Googling, not just going to Google and Mexico, a lot of patterns and whatever you find, and then trying to replicate that, but also trying to do research, to read, to go there, to take pictures, to speak with people. And I'm saying this at the same time that I think it's something that I would love to do. I tried to do it with my project with Valedora, this typeface that I did. But since I finished that typeface, I also understood a lot of things that I could do, So I think for me, it's a work in progress, not just the typeface, but also to understand how to do a proper research before addressing a project. This is also something that I've been learning now in The Hague, how to do real research, before doing something, you know. So for me, it is about that, and also to be open to continue learning and to fix what you did wrong before.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mauricio Villamador, for this question. I think it's really important as part of the entire process, not only in typeface but also in design. The research part it's key. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for that.
Thank you.
Now we have a question for Fer, and this is from me. I love how you mentioned that music is part of your inspiration, and I see in your portfolio a little bit of flow. And I would like to know how you explore rhythms as part of your process in creating typography. Can you elaborate further down how you incorporate movement into your work?
One thing is I love to dance and I love reggaeton, so the flow is there. But the thing for me, it's I know, I saw it. The thing for me, it's like we need, in my case, I think in the moment I realized that it's not about drawing one letter, because I think everyone can draw a beautiful letter, unique flow, movement, everything in one letter. In the moment you realize that you need to build a whole system that works together, you stop worrying about one letter and start to worry about the texture, the final texture of the things. And that's the way I think. I don't think about just this one, it's beautiful, and that's it. This one is going to tell the whole story. I need the whole text to look like I want it to look like. Sometimes it's not about the letters, and sometimes it's about the diacritics or the punctuation that makes the things like going somewhere. And in one point, I think calligraphy for me, as Ceci she's a really good calligrapher, I'm not. But when you learn how to build letters from tools, you know that you can do almost anything because you understand how to build them, like the parts and how the relation is. So after that, my worry, my concern is to do something that it's dancing or it is singing or I don't know. I have like I'm super attached to street art, I must confess. So everything has a graffiti look like. But it's important to me that it's not one word, it is not one letter, it's at least a word. If I can get that right, I'm in a good path.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for your explanation. And definitely, sometimes we are really focused on one thing, but when you start adding more elements and when you're starting like more into balance and like proportion, could be difficult. So thank you so much, Fernanda, for that answer. And thank you so much for everyone that stayed on this call and actually share and be here to share all this knowledge from Fernanda and Cecilia. So thank you so much for being here. And I pass the microphone to Ximena and Lavinia for final sayings, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Layshi. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, girls. You did amazing. I just want a quick observation about you. Your talks overlapped in a few parts, but one of them that struck me was you both talk about typography and letters as a vehicle to tell personal stories. So I was hoping to have, I mean, we're a little over time already, but to just have a quick discussion between the two of you about how you think about that.
I can start because Ceci is walking.
I'm so sorry, but the bell was ringing. Oh my God.
I think for me, as I said, my profession or any creative profession, I think it's difficult or impossible to separate yourself from what you're doing. And the whole idea of working with someone is what that people can bring to the project. So I encourage everyone to put something of you every time you do something. For me, it's not always 100% my story or my heritage, as Ceci was talking about. For me, it's something that I'm obsessed at that point of my life or in some point of my life. It's putting something and combining with something else that I like, or something that I'm terrible at, but in type I feel comfortable doing. I suck, and I'm really bad at calligraphy, but I try to put that in type that I think I can manage better. So I don't think anyone can do something without putting something of you in that project. Or at least I think it's a really bad way to do things, like separate yourself from the job. I don't know why I will do that.
Yes, I think in my case, I think it's something that I thought when I finished my presentation. It's also important to say to people that when you have this kind of personal projects, these are sometimes the projects that move you, but you need to also pay the bills. And it's really nice, for example, that Fer shared these projects that she does for clients, because yeah, I mean, working as a type designer is, if you work as a type designer, it's because it's something that you really feel passionate about. So it's always a mix. It's so much effort, so that it's always a mix between doing client work and also your personal projects. And sometimes for me, it's finding that balance. But even when you do, for me, I started doing this actually by doing every client work that I had as branding or any editorial design, whatever thing that I had to do as a freelance graphic designer, I would always try to do the letters, you know, even if the client didn't tell me like, oh yeah, can you draw a logo? No, they would tell me do a logo, but I would draw the letters, you know. So for me, this has been the path to make letters my work, and I'm still in the journey of doing that. But yeah, it's also what Fer said. It's about, yeah, putting what you really love in your work, even if it's client work or your thing. You never know where that work can end. So yeah.
I'm sorry, and at some point, for me, client work, they come to me because they want to work with me something, but not my full self. Maybe they need a corporate type, but they choose to work with me because they think I have something that I can bring to the job. So that being said, maybe it's not the best of my ideas, but I don't try to shut down that part of me, my personality or anything. I try to see what I can do, or what are my skills or my intentions with the project, and build from there.
Thank you. Layshi, Jimena, any final thoughts before we end?
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Every time that I do this kind of events, it's like an opportunity to me to learn from amazing colleagues. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Puerto Rico to dance.
Yes.
We
Dance
need
reggaeton.
Shendo.
Yes, we need a gira so everyone can be here.
Well, it was lovely having you. Thank you so much for your presentation and for showing your beautiful work with everybody. Layshi, it's been a pleasure to work with you again, and can't wait for our next session. Please join us if you can next week.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.